Howdy everybody, Chris here. We're back in the garage today working on a Nissan Sentra that had a front end collision. We've got to replace the front bumper and the fender. Darius has went ahead and removed these parts. We've got a aftermarket fender and a bumper. We're going to prep and refinish those today and then install them. I'm going to walk you through the entire process, so let's dig in and get started. So this bumper here was an aftermarket bumper cover. It was pre-primed, so it had some aftermarket primer on it. Darius went ahead and machine sanded this with 600 grit sandpaper. You can see there's a few areas that we went through the primer, but that's fine because we're going to seal this before we paint it. 600 grit sandpaper, we're going to put some adhesion promoter on it, but it's very important to get all this sanded. So he went around with a red Scotch-Brite and got all these tight areas that are hard to sand, and you can see how great a job he did. This looks fantastic. So the next step in this is he's already washed this with some isopropyl alcohol. You can use isopropyl alcohol or a prep solvent, an automotive prep solvent, just to remove all that dust and residue off the bumper. Now, we will use an adhesion promoter before we apply our sealer. What adhesion promoter does is it softens up the substrate so that sealer is going to stick and adhere really well. There's a lot of different brands of adhesion promoter, but we use the upol grip number 4. Now, as far as this fender's concerned, he went ahead and got this all sanded. We've got some areas where we broke through into bare metal, but we are going to use a direct to metal sealer, so that's not going to be an issue. Having those areas, it's not going to delaminate there. We'll still have good adhesion. We don't have to use an adhesion promoter on this, but we will use it on the bumper because it's flexible. But we will seal it, and then we'll base it in black and clear coat it. So let's get that going right now. We are going to tack rag this off before we start spraying our adhesion promoter. So this is just a sticky cloth that's going to remove any particles of dust. Don't want any dust trapped under our adhesion promoter. Want it nice and smooth. Make sure you wear a mask when you do this because this stuff is nasty. Make sure you get this all covered really well. This is where it's going to peel. Can't always sand in there perfectly. Now we're going to let that flash off for just a few minutes and we'll spray our sealer. Using this as our sealer, this mixes up 4 to 1 to 2 parts reducer. So 4 parts primer, 1 part activator, and 2 parts urethane reducer, and that gives you a sealer. So we're going to put our primer in and our activator. Now we're going to put 2 parts of the slow dry urethane reducer. I want to make sure this gets mixed up really well because this is a really thick product. Okay, so we let that flash off just a bit, that adhesion promoter. Now the gun we're going to spray with today is the Techno Pro Light. I've never owned one of these guns. DeVilvis is one of my favorite guns. I sprayed for years with a DeVilvis Plus, and that was an excellent gun. So we're going to try this out today. This is a TE10 cap. So this is a 1.3 tip. The way I'm going to set this up, I've got a full fan pattern. So I've got our fan pattern opened up all the way. That's this knob here. Our fluid volume I have at 2.5 turns out from closed. So I closed it all the way, 2.5 turns out. And the air pressure I'm going to set it at is about 20 PSI. And we'll see how well that works. So the seal laid down really nice. We're going to lay down the first coat of base on this. You're laying down base, you don't need as much air pressure as you do like a clear coat. We're going to set our air pressure at just under 20 PSI, maybe 18 even. We're going to see how well that does. I still got 3 turns out from closed on the fluid volume, and the fan pattern's still wide open. Now we're going to want to overlap our passes about 70%, somewhere right around there. Really just concerned about coverage and a smooth finish. I mean, look at that fan pattern, it's huge. It's atomizing it really well. Nice atomization on this paint. I'm not going straight on, I'm angling my gun this way. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes. We let this flash off. Now, I put it on a little bit heavy the first coat, and I got a little bit of blushing. Let me show you what that is. If you look here, you can kind of see it has kind of a cloudiness to it. That's what we call blushing. In these hot temperatures with high humidity, if you put it on real heavy on the first coat, you could get some of this blushing. I never really get blushing, but the last couple of times I have got some. So right here we have a couple little particles of dust. So what we're going to do to correct that, oh, I got some dust on my glove, is I'm going to tack rag it off real quick. But what I want to do is take a little piece of 600 grit sandpaper, and we're just going to kind of sand out the head of that dust particle, because we're putting another coat on this. As you feel over it, you're going to feel whether there's dust on it. This is in the sealer. See how it's gray? That means that dust was in a sealer, but I like to put a coat of base on it before I go and look for these, because they're just a little bit easier to find. See that little spot? Can you see that? Little particle of dust. All right, tack the rest of this off. We got our paint ready to go for the second coat. Let's check the fender. And this one's a little bit rougher. I didn't put this on quite as heavy because that one was blushing, but I'm gonna go a little bit heavier with it now. All right. I'm gonna try something a little bit different today. We're still gonna use the FC710. This mixes up 4:1, it's a 4:1 clear coat. We wanna find the 4:1 mixing ratio. We're gonna ignore that last one, but what we're gonna do is put the amount of clear that we want. We're gonna go up to the 4, and then what you do is you go into the coordinating column, the 1 column, and then you add the activator, 1 part of activator. So it's gonna be filled up to here, and we're gonna add the 1 part of activator to this 4 right here. These cups are the Master Pro series. I buy them on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description. Very reasonably priced. It's the Series 1 disposable cup system. We do have to use medium hardener, and it's hot today. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add just a little bit of urethane reducer to smooth it out. We're also gonna open up the fluid volume all the way. So we're gonna open this up all the way, and then we start to turn it. And once we feel the pressure on the gun, we know we're open all the way. So we're gonna spray with the fluid volume all the way open. We're gonna spray with the fan pattern all the way open. I'm gonna put in 5% of this urethane reducer just to give it a little bit of a smoother finish. We're gonna move a little bit quicker because we're putting a lot of material on this panel. Hopefully with this temperature, that's gonna help it to flow out just a little bit better, put more material on it. I'll probably do the first coat a little bit like a medium coat. I don't wanna put on real heavy the first coat, so a medium coat, and then the second coat we'll put on a little heavier. 22 PSI. Let's kind of test it. Oh yeah, it's ready to go. Let's go ahead and spray our second coat then. If you touch it and it's stringy, it's a little stringy yet. It's not quite ready. See how it's stringy? It's not quite ready. All right, coat number 2. Let's take a look at this bumper. Really like how that DeVilbiss sprays. It's been a while since I used a DeVilbiss gun, but yeah, I remember why I love those guns. And that Pro Light's been around forever. It just lays down such a beautiful finish. And I think the price has come way down on those DeVilbiss Pro Lights. So you can pick one of those up pretty reasonable. I'll leave a link in the description on one of those guns just in case you're interested. But, you know, very nice looking finish. Let's go ahead and get this car put together and I'll give you a look at the finished product. There it is, all done. Nice and smooth. Nice looking finish. It even kind of matches the old paint pretty well. The old paint's a little bit faded, but it still looks pretty good. New headlight, bumper cover painted. Listen, this job's not that difficult. You guys can do it at home. Definitely do it at home. If you have any questions about this repair or about your repair that you need to do, leave them in the comments below. Listen, I appreciate each and every one of you watching. I hope you found this information helpful. If you did, become part of the Garage Noise Mafia, and subscribe to the channel. If you want to learn more about paint and body repair, check out this video now. I appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time on Garage Noise.